A gambler dies and goes to heaven, and he finds himself in a big long line before the pearly gates. Well, this gambler, he don't like standing in line, so he taps the guy in front of him on the shoulder. He says, "Look here," he said, "I'm a gambler." He said, "I bet you that I can, in 3 tries, I can tell you what your last words were, and if I get it right, you'll let me move ahead of you in the line." Man in front of him said, "All right." So gambler looks at him, he notices he's got his shirt's undone and he's got some little burnt looking marks on his chest. And he said, "I bet you those are defibrillator marks. And I bet your last words were, 'It's nothing, it's just a little indigestion.'" The guy shrugged his shoulders and moved aside and let the gambler move ahead of him in the line. The gambler looks at the next guy in the line, and he's a kind of a redneck southern looking boy. And gambler taps him on the shoulder and makes the same bet that 3 tries he could guess what his last words were. And guy takes the bet, and the gambler looks at him, and this southern redneck looking boy is kind of bloody and scratched up. He's got grass stains all over his clothes. And the gambler guesses, "Your last words were, 'Here, hold my beer.'" The guy moves aside and lets him go ahead of him in the line. He comes to the next man in line. The next man is a big 6'6" black man, pretty rough looking fella. Gambler taps him on the shoulder and he says, "I tell you what, I bet you that in 3 tries I can tell you what your last words were. And if I get it right, you let me move ahead of you in line." Black man said, "All right." He looked at him and said, "This black man got about 6 bullet holes in him." And the gambler says, "Well, let me guess." He said, "Your last words were, 'You'll never take me alive.'" The black man says, "No, those weren't my last words." So the gambler scratches his head a little bit. And he said, "All right." He said, "Your last words were, 'Fuck the police.'" The gambler said, "No, missed it again." The gambler thought and he thought and he thought. Finally, the gambler threw up his hands and he said, "I got nothing, I give up." The black man moves aside and lets the man move ahead of him in line.
We hate asphalt, we like trees, and we love our rodeo.